All right, guys, you ready? This is how you become rich. No, it's not. Not at all. This is not what this is about. This is the almost the opposite of that. So I am so tired of people preaching how to be successful. You're probably getting, you know, ads here on YouTube and elsewhere telling you what you need to do to become a successful creative uh in creating content or in investing and blah 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 and so forth. And it's all a bunch of horse pucky. I recently even had a friend send me a video from Robert Kiyosaki. I didn't know that con artist was still at it. This is the guy who wrote the infamous self-help book Rich Dad Poor Dad. So in this video I'm going to be putting on my psychology cap, okay? Rich Dad Poor Dad is a self-help book that supposedly Robert Kiyosaki wrote um, as a biography of his early life, of how he became wealthy because he had two fathers. One, a biological father who was a hardworking guy who didn't get ahead, and an entrepreneurial guy who mentored him when he lived in Hawaii. Except when people went to go look it up, that guy never existed. Of course, then he said, well, this was just a metaphor. Okay, whatever. Sure, Robert. Anyway, not to mention that not once, but twice, and it might have been thrice, if I'm not mistaken, he actually advocated people to do insider trading as a way of gaining the upper hand in investments in his book. Openly telling people to do insider trading. If that's not bad enough, he went to the Merchant Marine Academy to get his education. Nothing wrong with that in itself. But the lie comes when he says that he openly chose that over all the other military academies available to him. Whether you're in the military or not, most people recognize who've gone on to higher education that the most prestigious military academies are West Point and the Naval Academy. Then you have the other ones as well. I'm not going to knock the Air Force Academy, the Coast Guard Academy, as well as the other military academy down south. The name escapes me. Um, but typically, someone who goes to the Merchant Marines is someone who couldn't get into any of the other ones. It's like it's like saying uh, Brown University was your first pick over Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, Dartmouth. um, you're lying. Okay, yeah, no one chooses the Merchant Marines. They're not even military. What happens is when you graduate from Merchant Marines, you're given a commission into the Navy, but the Merchant Marines themselves are not a part of the military. It's no. Okay, whatever. He gives horrible advice, and then he made up a board game which is basically like a ripoff of Mousetrap, which he calls the rat race, which he uses as a metaphor for escaping the struggles of everyday life. I don't want to harp just on Robert Kiyosaki. He's just an uh, a good exemplar of these self help gurus. Most of these self help gurus take a mixture of pop psychology, common sense, and some gimmick, mix it all together, and they have a good self help book. Um, as someone who has a background in psychological science, we pretty much hate the pop psychology self help industry because it's pseudoscience. It simply is a pseudoscience. Yet, the problem in general is that psychology is probably the only science, at least one of the only natural sciences. And yes, I will say psychology is a natural science because all of human behavior is a reflection of the activity of the brain. But in any case, because some of you are going to fight me on a reductionism, fine. We can talk about that in another video. But the point is, like, it seems that psychology is the only science where people who have absolutely no background in it feel free to completely talk, quite avidly about it as if they know what they're talking about. Okay. Which is a shame. Um, Such folk theorizing has fallen out of favor with other sciences like physics, chemistry, even biology to some degree. But psychology still has quacks that can openly peddle whatever nonsense they want about the field, and people will actually listen to them. Go figure. So, and this goes into what I'm gonna talk about as far as success. This this is either gonna come off in one of two ways to you guys. Is even You're either gonna be like, well, duh, yeah, that's common sense, or you're gonna be like, you're just salty. You don't know, you know, you're salty. You don't know what you're talking about because you're not successful yourself. Um, Whatever. I can defend myself with, statistics, data, evidence. So my video just froze. I don't know if you caught that, but again, I can defend myself with empirical evidence and logic. Okay. So all these self help books, and mind you, I've read most of them when I was younger. I was thirsty for becoming successful. For some reason, at 18 or 19, I thought I should have like a high paying job without having any serious educational or technical skills to do so. So I read all of them: Think and Grow Rich, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Later, I was given books as gifts like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, um, The Millionaire Next Door, and many other self help books. And like I said, they all use the same gimmick: mix some common sense with some pop psychology and some sort of gimmick, and self help book. There you go. And to further the point that I'm not a hypocrite because I'm not successful, but I'm going to tell people how you can actually be successful. Mind you, that most of the self help gurus aren't successful people who are teaching other people how to be successful. They were people who became rich and successful teaching others how to be successful. They literally got into that industry because they knew that they could market their bullshit and become rich off of it. That's why you have to go to all their seminars and you buy their books, and then you buy sequels to those books, and then you buy the audio tapes. For Robert Kiyosaki, his board games, whatever. And it's a whole industry. Like, if something works, why would you need so many versions of it? You know? But in any case, those self help books aren't going to help you. They can motivate you, great. But then that motivation is fleeting. That's why you got to keep out and get more and more and more of it, because you have to keep recharging that motivation, because it's not an everlasting sort of thing. That's not how the psychology of motivation works. And if they taught you how to actually be wealthy, there would be no need to keep having other variants of that books in that industry, and those people will probably find themselves out of business because they've already taught you what you needed to know to do what they've done, supposedly. Okay, so here's how you become successful, and most of these, I'm sad to say, are completely out of your hands. that's that's where like I said, I'm going to split people between people who say, yeah, this what you're saying is just common sense, and other people just like, well, yeah, that's rather pessimistic and blah. And you just saying it because you're not successful yourself. Maybe I am, but it would be a genetic fallacy to think that where a claim comes from uh, dictates its veracity or its truth value. So here we go. So the first thing, IQ. There's a lot of people who hate IQ for so many reasons. Ironically, a long time ago, the IQ test used to be beloved by the liberal side of 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 the world because it was a way for people of lower and modest means. So, despite what you might think about IQ, like I said, originally liberals were all for it because it was a way of regular people being able to um, make it up the social ladder without being some sort of rich twit that was born into wealth, like a nobleman or, um, the child of a rich parent or whatever. Okay, but set that aside. Let's also set aside whether IQ is a matter of nature or nurture. I've already addressed that in other videos. So, uh, and I don't want to get into that again. For the nuts, IQ is a strong predictor of not only academic success, but financial success. However, we know now that um, though it does have predictive validity for success, it its its effects are a bit more nuanced or moderate than what we originally supposed. There's two other factors to success. So hold on, guys. I already gave you the first one. It's IQ, which you have no control over, but hopefully you were born on the higher end of the bell curve than the lower. um, the second is chance. Sorry. Oh, you were like, oh, it was going to be your upbringing. No, upbringing has very little uh, very little influence on future success. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but no, your upbringing is a very little percentage of what goes into predicting success. IQ has a way higher, way higher value than than your upbringing. The second is chance. Okay, which again you have no control over whatsoever. Um, sorry, just a roll of dumb luck, fate, whatever you want to call it, chance, probability. That is one of the biggest factors in success. Is just chance, which is why you can have very smart people not be successful. I'm not saying I'm one of them because I don't want to claim I'm very smart. Um, there's only two people who type of people who claim they're very smart. Those who actually are, which is a slim margin of people, and the rest are a bunch of dumb people who are not. And I'm not going to get into all the different cognitive biases and why that is so. That's again topic for another video. But yes, the first factor is high IQ. The second is chance. And here's the third one. This one is not really under your control either, but maybe you can have some influence on it. And that's how much help you get from other people. Your resources. That is very important. Having people that are willing to help you out, that can provide you the resources, can be your route to success. Now, that is something amongst those three. variables that maybe you can have some influence on somewhat. Eh. But hopefully I just saved you thousands of dollars in buying useless self-help books, attending pointless self-help seminars for success, avoiding Robert Kiyosaki at, at any length, um, going through some sort of guilt for not making it ahead despite being very uh, promising when you were in school, or whatever the case may be, that you feel that your lack of success is something that's completely your fault. Maybe it is completely your fault. Unlikely though. Like I said, the role of chance is probably the biggest of the three. But like I said, people with higher IQs tend to be more successful just because the IQ score reflects your ability to adapt to difficult situations. Adaptability is definitely something that can be a part in defining intelligence, um, general intelligence, that is. And like I said, how much willing people are willing to help you can really be the difference in your success or not, despite all the different autobiographies and biopics you might watch, um, tales you may hear. No one's no one is a self-made millionaire or billionaire, whatever. They've had a lot of help along the way to get to where they are. I mean, unless they won a lottery ticket or they shot the right person. Other than that, yeah, everyone who's successful has had a lot of help from others. Don't believe the hype. So hopefully that saved you a lot of money in self-help books and therapy. Although I still recommend the therapy just for the general benefit of it. But self-help books are pointless. Don't do it. Avoid the seminars. Avoid all the pseudo profound bullshit that you find online. People like Jordan Peterson and others. While I do like some of the stuff that he says, for the most part, he is a very good exemplar of people who expound pseudo profound bullshit. It's so what he says is so vague that you can see in it what you want to see in it. So pseudo profound bullshit. That's actually a real term in psychology. Um, we also in philosophy, because of Daniel Dennett, call it a deepity. A deepity meaning something that is patently false but sounds true, or if it is true, it's just trivially true. So, um, again, I hope that saved you some money, and I'm sorry that my lack of success might keep you from from taking me seriously, or that there's only have one follower here, one follower. But in any case, other people may ride you, or you may have rode others in a sense that if they weren't successful or you weren't successful and you were talking to them, trying to give them advice, they would just not listen to you, which is not just the genetic fallacy, but it's also a fallacious appeal to accomplishment. So here's another logical fallacy I'm throwing at you guys. Sorry. The appeal to accomplishment is basically that um, you attack a person's uh, level of success or lack thereof, um, when they make some sort of claim or argument, instead of instead of criticizing whatever the content of what they're saying itself. You're attacking their level of accomplishment. So I've gotten this from people um, online, but not from strangers. I've gotten this from people I actually know who, I've had one or two friends. I've even had a asshole father who was saying, "Well, where's your money? No one wants to hear your poor man's logic." So, poor man's logic. Okay, this is coming from someone who is an attorney or used to be an attorney. I'm not going to put his business out there, but I'll just say this: since for pre-law students trying to get into law school, they have to take the LSATs, which is basically all logic and reasoning skills. A person who's good at that might keep themselves from getting into legal trouble later on if they're higher up in those abilities for logic and critical thinking skills. That's all I'll say about him and folks like him preaching poor man's logic. Uh, like the truth value of what I or anyone else says does not depend on their success or lack thereof. It depends on the truth value of their claims, which is a matter of its content and its form. I don't want to get too much into logic, but yeah. So hopefully that saved you a few dollars. Don't spend money on all these pointless self help books. Don't beat yourself up over, you know, seeing successful people on Instagram and this and that and wondering why you're not, even though you're like smarter than these folks you went to school. Whereas you see someone just posting their ass on Instagram and they're instantly rich, or someone who plays video games online and they've become instantly rich, or you know someone who's live streams and just has their boobs on the screen and they're rich because they have a bunch of simps that follow them, hoping that if they donate money to them and give them compliments, that somehow they'll be able to touch those boobs in real life. um, it can make people very jaded, and I understand because I get there myself sometimes, but you gotta step away from the abyss. I stare at the abyss all the time. I give it a wink and eat some fruit snacks. That's how I deal with the abyss. But just to recapitulate, the the three biggest factors in success: high IQ, chance, people's willingness to help you out. That's it. But I'm just a contrarian.